The park was silent, save for the whisper of dying leaves skittering across the path. An old man sat alone on a weathered bench, his hands trembling not from cold, but from the weight of 60 years of memories. In his lap rested a small wooden box, its edges worn smooth by time, as if it had been held too long, too tightly. Elliot Grayson, 78, had come to this park every evening since his wife, Clara, passed 3 winters ago. The world had dulled without her, colors faded, laughter hollowed, and time stretched into an endless ache. He watched families pass, children chasing kites, couples entwined under the oaks, and felt the sting of being a stranger in his own life. The box was his anchor, a relic of a promise he'd made to Clara on her final day, though its contents remained a secret even to him. She'd only said, "You'll know when it's time." Today, the park felt different. A boy, no older than 7, darted across the grass, his red scarf trailing like a comet's tail. His name was Sam, though Elliot didn't know it yet. The boy's laughter sliced through the old man's reverie, sharp and alive, pulling him back to a world he'd half forgotten. Sam tripped, his knees skidding into the dirt, and his mother, a tired woman with a hurried gait, called out, "Stay close, Sammy." But Sam, undeterred, scrambled up, his eyes catching Elliot's. "You okay, kid?" Elliot's voice rasped, and used for hours. Sam nodded, brushing dirt from his palms, then tilted his head, staring at the box. "What's that?" he asked, pointing with the fearless curiosity of childhood. Elliot's heart stuttered. No one had ever noticed the box before, not the joggers, not the dog walkers, not even the groundskeeper who nodded politely each day. Something stirred in him, a flicker of instinct, or perhaps Clara's voice whispering from somewhere beyond. "Something important," Elliot said, his fingers tightening around the wood. "But it's not for me to open." Sam's eyes widened, and he stepped closer, his sneakers crunching leaves. "Who's it for then?" he asked. Elliot hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing against his chest. He didn't know why, but the boy's earnest gaze felt like a key turning in a long-locked door. "Maybe it's for you," Elliot said, half surprised by his own words. "But you can't open it yet. Not until you're ready." Sam frowned, puzzled, but didn't press. Instead, he sat on the bench, swinging his legs, and began chattering about his day, his dog, his math test, the kite that got stuck in a tree. Elliot listened, the boy's voice filling the hollows of his heart. For the first time in years, he smiled, a small, fragile thing, but real. They talked until Sam's mother called him away, her voice sharper now, urgent. Elliot watched them go, the box still in his hands, wondering if he'd made a mistake. That night, Elliot couldn't sleep. The box sat on his nightstand, its presence louder than ever. Clara had been the keeper of their secrets, the one who planned surprises, who left notes in his coat pockets. What was she asking of him now? He traced the box's carved lid, remembering her laughter, her warmth, the way she'd made every moment brighter. The boy, Sam, had sparked something similar, a fleeting, impossible hope. But hope was dangerous for a man like Elliot, who'd learned to live with loss. The next evening, Elliot returned to the park, the box tucked under his arm. Sam was there, kicking a soccer ball, his red scarf a beacon in the fading light. When he saw Elliot, he ran over, grinning. "You brought it," he said, pointing at the box. "Can I see it?" Elliot hesitated, then handed it over, watching Sam's small hands explore its surface. "It's heavy," Sam said, shaking it gently. Nothing rattled inside, but the boy's eyes gleamed with wonder. "Not yet," Elliot said softly. "You'll know when." Sam nodded, as if he understood, though Elliot wasn't sure he did himself. They sat together again, Sam talking, Elliot listening, the box between them like a silent vow. Days turned into weeks, and their meetings became a ritual. Elliot on the bench, Sam with his endless stories, the box a constant presence. Elliot began to feel lighter, as if the boy's laughter was chipping away at his grief. But one evening, Sam didn't come. The park felt emptier, the air colder. Elliot waited, the box heavier than ever, until the stars appeared. The next day, too, Sam was absent. Worry gnawed at Elliot, unfamiliar after years of solitude. He asked the groundskeeper, who shrugged. "Kids move on," he said. Elliot's heart sank. Had he misread the signs? Was the box meant for someone else? On the third day, a woman approached the bench. She was Sam's mother, her face lined with exhaustion, her eyes red. "You're the man with the box," she said, her voice trembling. "Sam talks about you all the time." Elliot's throat tightened. "Is he okay?" he asked. She nodded, then faltered. "He's in the hospital. A fever, they say. It's serious." She paused, then added, "He keeps asking for you. And that box." Elliot's world tilted. The box, Clara's gift, suddenly felt like a lifeline not just for him, but for a boy he barely knew. He stood, clutching the box, and followed her to the hospital, his heart pounding with a purpose he hadn't felt in years. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and fear, a sterile contrast to the park's earthy warmth. Elliot's steps echoed in the corridor, each one heavier than the last, the wooden box tucked under his arm like a talisman. Sam's mother, Ellen, led the way, her shoulders hunched as if carrying the weight of the world. In the pediatric ward, Sam lay small and pale against white sheets, his red scarf draped over the bed rail. His eyes lit up when he saw Elliot. "You came," he whispered, his voice weak but bright. Elliot's chest ached at the sight. Sam, so full of life just days ago, now tethered to an IV drip. He sat beside the bed, the box in his lap, and forced a smile. "Couldn't miss our talk, could I?" he said. Sam grinned, though it faded quickly, his breath shallow. Ellen hovered nearby, her hands twisting together. "He's been asking for that box," she said softly. "I don't know why it means so much to him." Elliot nodded, unsure himself. The box was Clara's, a piece of her he'd guarded fiercely, but seeing Sam's frail form, he felt its purpose shifting. "Can I hold it?" Sam asked, his fingers twitching. Elliot hesitated, then placed the box in Sam's hands, its weight seeming to anchor the boy to the moment. Sam traced the carvings, his touch reverent. "What's inside?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elliot swallowed hard. "Something special," he said. "But you have to wait. You'll know when it's time." Sam's eyes searched his, trusting, and Elliot felt a pang of guilt. He didn't know what the box held, only that Clara had entrusted it to him. Was he betraying her by passing it to a child? Their visits became daily. Elliot told Sam stories, some true, about his life with Clara, others invented, about pirates and dragons. Sam listened, his laughter faint but real, and the box sat between them, a silent promise. Ellen began joining their talks, her guarded demeanor softening. She shared that she was a single mother, working 2 jobs, always rushing. "Sam's all I have," she said one evening, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to help him." Elliot understood her fear, the helplessness of watching someone you love slip away. He'd felt it with Clara, and now it echoed in Sam. Yet the boy's spirit was a fire that refused to dim. One day, Sam handed the box back to Elliot. "Keep it safe for me," he said. "I'm going to get better, and then I'll open it." Elliot's throat closed, but he nodded, tucking the box under his arm. Then came the twist. One afternoon, a man entered the room, tall, disheveled, with Sam's bright eyes but none of his warmth. "Who's this?" he demanded, glaring at Elliot. Ellen stiffened. "This is Elliot," she said. "He's been visiting Sam." The man, Sam's father, hadn't been in their lives for years, Ellen explained later. He'd left when Sam was a baby, chasing dreams that never materialized. Now, hearing of Sam's illness, he'd returned, claiming a place he hadn't earned. Elliot felt a surge of protectiveness. Sam didn't need this man's chaos, not now. But Sam, ever trusting, smiled at his father, holding the box tighter. "This is my friend's," he told him proudly. The man scoffed, dismissing it as some old junk. Elliot's hands clenched, but he stayed silent, sensing the fragility of the moment. Ellen, however, asked the man to leave, her voice firm. "You don't get to walk in now," she said. He stormed out, promising to return, leaving a shadow over the room. Sam's condition worsened. The doctors spoke in hushed tones, and Ellen's eyes grew hollow. Elliot spent longer hours at the hospital, the box a constant companion. He began to wonder if Clara had known this would happen, if the box was meant not just for him, but for someone like Sam, someone who needed hope. One night, as Sam slept, Elliot opened Clara's old journal, tucked in his coat. Her handwriting danced across the pages, and he found a note. "Give it to someone who needs to believe." His heart raced. Was Sam the one? By the week's end, Sam's fever broke, a small miracle. He sat up, weaker but brighter, and asked for the box. Elliot handed it over, his hands trembling. "Not yet," he reminded Sam, but the boy's grin was enough. Ellen hugged Elliot, tears in her eyes. You've given him something to hold on to, she said. Elliot shook his head. He's given me more. Sam's recovery was slow, a delicate dance between hope and fragility. The hospital room, once a cage of beeping machines, now felt like a sanctuary where Elliot, Sam, and Ellen built something fragile but real, a family born of shared moments. The box remained a quiet presence, its mystery growing with each passing day. Elliot arrived each morning with stories, his voice steadier now, as if Sam's resilience was teaching him to live again. Sam, still tethered to monitors, listened with wide eyes, clutching the box during tales of Clara's garden or imaginary nights. Ellen, too, began to share stories of her childhood, her dreams for Sam, her fears of failing him. Elliot saw Clara in her strength, her quiet determination, and it stirred an ache he hadn't felt in years. One afternoon, a new figure entered their world. Mrs. Harper, an elderly volunteer with silver hair and a sharp wit, wheeled a cart of books into the room. "Heard you like stories," she said to Sam, her eyes twinkling. She handed him a worn copy of Treasure Island, then glanced at the box. "That looks like it holds a tale or two," she said, her tone teasing but kind. Sam beamed, showing her the carvings, and Elliot felt a strange relief. Mrs. Harper's presence was a spark, her quick humor lightening the room. But Mrs. Harper was more than she seemed. One evening, as she lingered after her shift, she told Elliot she'd known Clara decades ago, when they were young teachers. She was a dreamer, Mrs. Harper said, her voice soft. Always talking about leaving something behind, something that mattered. Elliot froze, the box heavy in his hands. Had Clara planned this all along? Mrs. Harper didn't know about the box, but her words felt like a message, a nudge from the past. Sam's father returned, unannounced, his presence like a storm cloud. He demanded to see Sam, his voice loud in the quiet ward. Ellen stood her ground, but Sam, clutching the box, looked torn. "He's my dad," he whispered to Elliot, his eyes pleading for guidance. Elliot's heart twisted. He knew the pain of absence, the longing for family, but he also saw the chaos this man brought. "You decide who gets to stay in your life, Sam," he said gently. "Not him. You." That night, Sam asked Elliot to tell him about Clara again. Elliot spoke of her laughter, her love for puzzles, how she'd hide notes for him to find. "She'd have liked you," he said, his voice thick. Sam smiled, then said, "I think she sent you to me." Elliot's breath caught. The boy's words, so simple, felt like truth. The box, Clara's last gift, was no longer just a relic, it was a bridge between them. As Sam grew stronger, the doctors spoke of discharge, a word that carried both joy and fear. Elliot realized their daily visits would end, and the thought hollowed him. What was his place without Sam, without the box tying them together? Ellen sensed his unease. "You're not just some stranger," she said one evening. "You're part of us now." Her words were a lifeline, but Elliot still felt the weight of the box's mystery. Mrs. Harper, ever observant, began joining their evenings, bringing books and quiet wisdom. She told Sam stories of her own adventures from her youth, mistakes she'd made, lessons learned. "Life's a story you keep writing," she told him. "You don't stop, even when it hurts." Sam listened, rapt, and Elliot saw the boy's strength growing, not just in body but in spirit. One day, Sam asked to go to the park. The doctors agreed, a short trip to lift his spirits. Elliot pushed his wheelchair, the box in Sam's lap, as Ellen walked beside them. The park was alive with spring blossoms bursting, children laughing. Sam pointed to their bench, and they sat, the box between them. "I think I'm ready," Sam said, his voice steady. Elliot's heart raced. Was this the moment Clara meant? "Not yet," Elliot said, his voice soft but firm. "You'll know when." Sam didn't argue, just nodded, trusting. Mrs. Harper, who joined them, smiled knowingly. "Patience is a story in itself," she said. Elliot looked at her, wondering how much she truly knew. As they left the park, Sam's father appeared again, his face softer now, pleading. "I want to be better," he said to Ellen. She didn't trust him, but Sam's hopeful eyes made her pause. Elliot watched, silent, the box a reminder of promises kept and broken. Spring warmed the park, but Elliot felt a chill as Sam's discharge loomed. The boy was stronger, his laughter louder, yet the box's mystery hung heavy between them. Each day, Elliot arrived at the hospital, the wooden relic in hand, wondering if today was the day Clara met. Sam, now walking short distances, insisted on park visits. The bench became their anchor, a place where stories flowed. Elliot's memories of Clara, Sam's dreams of adventure, Ellen's quiet hopes for a better future. Mrs. Harper joined often, her presence a steady comfort. She'd taken to knitting during their talks, her needles clicking like a metronome, weaving warmth into their fragile circle. Sam's father, Mark, lingered on the edges. He'd visit sporadically, bringing small gifts, a comic book, a toy car, but his promises felt thin. Ellen remained wary, but Sam's longing for his father was undeniable. "He's trying," Sam told Elliot one day, clutching the box. Elliot nodded, hiding his doubts. He'd seen men like Mark before, full of words but empty of staying power. Yet Sam's hope was a force Elliot couldn't dismiss. One evening, Mrs. Harper shared a story that shifted the air. "When I was young," she said, her needles pausing, "I lost someone I loved. I carried his watch for years, waiting for a sign to let it go." She looked at Elliot, her eyes sharp. "Sometimes, you don't open the box. Sometimes, you just pass it on." Elliot's pulse quickened. Was she speaking of Clara's box? He didn't ask, but her words lodged in his heart. The next day, Sam asked to hold the box alone. Elliot handed it over, watching as Sam sat on the bench, tracing its carvings with a reverence that mirrored Clara's. "I think I know when," Sam said suddenly, his voice clear. Elliot froze. "When you're happy again," Sam said, looking at him. "That's when I'll open it." Elliot's eyes stung. The boy, so young, had seen his pain, his loneliness, and tied the box's purpose to it. Ellen, nearby, overheard and touched Elliot's arm. "He's right," she said softly. "You've given him so much. Let him give this to you." Elliot shook his head, overwhelmed. The box was Clara's, meant for something greater, wasn't it? But Sam's words echoed Clara's note. Give it to someone who needs to believe. Maybe happiness was the key, not just for Sam, but for him. Mark's visits grew more frequent, his demeanor humbler. One afternoon, he sat with them in the park, awkward but earnest. "I messed up," he admitted to Ellen, his voice low. "I want to be here for him." Sam watched, silent, the box in his lap. Elliot saw the boy's hope warring with caution, and it mirrored his own heart. Could people change? Could Mark be the father Sam needed? Mrs. Harper, ever the observer, handed Sam a knitted scarf red, like his old one, but softer, warmer. "For new beginnings," she said. Sam grinned, wrapping it around his neck, and Elliot felt a pang of gratitude for this woman who'd become their unexpected ally. She caught his eye, nodding slightly, as if she knew the box's time was near. The day came unexpectedly. Sam, now home from the hospital, asked Elliot to meet him at the park, alone. The boy stood by the bench, the box in his hands, his eyes bright with purpose. "I'm ready," he said. Elliot's heart pounded. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice barely steady. Sam nodded. "I'm happy, and I think you are too." With trembling hands, Sam opened the box. Inside was a locket, simple but elegant, with a photo of Clara and Elliot, young and laughing, and a note in Clara's handwriting. "Love is never lost. Pass it on." Sam read it aloud, his voice clear, then handed the locket to Elliot. "She wanted you to share this," he said. Elliot's tears fell, the weight of years lifting. Clara had known he'd need to find purpose again, through someone like Sam. Ellen and Mark arrived, together, their hands clasped tentatively. Sam ran to them, the box empty, but its meaning alive. Mrs. Harper stood nearby, her knitting done, her smile quiet. Elliot held the locket, feeling Clara's love, Sam's hope, and the new family they'd built.